Parents kicked me out for defending my grandpa when they demanded his money. Now I own a multi-million-dollar company while they have nothing. My wife laughed and said, "He's not a man anymore." When I asked my parents for help, my dad snorted. "A real man wouldn't beg." My mom just shook her head. I smiled and left that day. 6 years later, they showed up at my door desperate and calling me non-stop. So I, 34 male, been working at this engineering firm for 7 years. Not gonna name it for obvious reasons, but it's one of those mid-sized places where everyone knows everyone's business. I was doing pretty well. Decent pay, senior project manager, my own team. Not setting the world on fire or anything, but comfortable enough. Been married to Jen, 31 female, for 5 years, no kids. Thank fucking God in hindsight. We met at my buddy's barbecue back when I still had dreams of starting my own contracting business. I had the skills, the connections, even had a business plan drafted up. Then the housing crash of '08 wiped out my first attempt and saddled me with debt that took years to climb out from. So I took the steady corporate job, worked my way up, put those ambitions on the back burner. Not forever, just until we were more stable. Our house was decent. 3-bed, 2-bath, and a nice suburb. Nothing fancy, but the kind of place where you can see yourself staying long-term. Jen decorated it all Pinterest perfect, like she was always expecting a magazine photo shoot to happen. That should have been a red flag right there. Everything in our life was about appearances. Looking back, Jen was probably disappointed I never got back to that dream of being my own boss. She married a guy with potential who was going to run his own company someday. Instead, she got a guy who came home at 5:30 and watched football on weekends. Not a bad life, I thought. I paid the bills. We had the house, took a vacation to the beach every summer. What more did she want? Should have seen the signs earlier. About 4 months ago, Jen started getting obsessed with her appearance. New gym membership. New clothes. Suddenly spending an hour every morning on makeup and hair. When I asked about it, she just said some bullshit about reclaiming her femininity and how women shouldn't have to explain taking pride in their appearance. Got it from some podcast she started listening to. Red Pill for Women or some shit like that. She'd always been into social media, but it got worse. Everything had to be photographed and filtered. Our meals, our weekend hikes, even the fucking sunset from our back deck, always with these long captions about living her best life and knowing her worth. Meanwhile, I was getting cropped out of more and more photos. That Tuesday morning, I was in the kitchen making coffee when my phone buzzed. Text from Sandra in HR. "Mike, need to see you before your 9 a.m. meeting." My office, important. My gut clenched, but I brushed it off. Probably about the Anderson project budget I submitted last week. Maybe I was finally getting that promotion I'd been angling for. I leaned in to kiss Jen goodbye and noticed she was texting someone. She angled the phone away quickly, like I'd caught her doing something wrong. "Have a good day," she said, barely looking up. "Don't wait up. I've got that women's empowerment meetup tonight. 3rd one this month." Should have been a red flag. All these new friends she never brought around. All these events I wasn't invited to. But I trusted her. Stupid me. When I got to work, Sandra wasn't alone. My direct manager Doug was there, along with Richard from legal. Their faces said it all before Sandra even opened her mouth. This wasn't about a promotion. "Michael, we've received multiple complaints of sexual harassment from female employees over the past 3 months." The floor dropped out from under me. What? That's insane. Who's saying this? Sandra slid a folder across the desk. The complaints are anonymous, but we have dates, times, and detailed accounts from 6 different women. I flipped through the pages, my hands shaking. Comments I never made about women's appearances. Invitations to my office after hours that never happened. Suggestive texts I never sent. All documented. All structured exactly how HR likes their evidence. All complete bullshit. "This isn't me," I said, voice cracking. "You know me, Doug. 7 years. Have you ever seen me act like this? I'm happily married for Christ's sake." Doug wouldn't meet my eyes. Just stared at his hands like they were the most interesting thing in the room. "Policy is clear, Mike. With this many complaints and this level of documentation, we have to terminate immediately. We've prepared a severance package," Sandra said, pushing more papers toward me. 2 months' salary. If you sign today, agreeing not to contest the termination. I felt sick, like physically nauseous. Can I at least know who's accusing me? I have the right to face my accusers. Not in cases of sexual harassment, Richard said smoothly, looking bored like he'd done this a dozen times before. Company policy, security will escort you to collect your things. They had a guard waiting outside. A fucking guard like I was dangerous or something. 7 years at this place, never so much as raised my voice, and now I'm being walked out like a criminal. People watching from their cubicles whispering. I kept my head high, but inside I was dying. I called Jen from the parking lot, hands shaking so bad I could barely hit the buttons. Straight to voicemail. I tried again. Same thing. I checked our joint account on my banking app. Something didn't feel right. Zero balance. $57,000 gone. Yesterday, there had been a transfer to an account I didn't recognize. The savings we'd been building for years, house repairs, maybe a down payment on a rental property someday, all of it gone. I tried calling again straight to voicemail. Panic was setting in now. This couldn't be coincidence. Getting fired the same day I discover our savings are wiped out? I drove home like a maniac, running a red light and nearly clipping a minivan. The house was quiet when I pulled up. Jen's car was there, which was strange since she should have been at work. Another car was in the driveway too. A black Audi, I recognized. Doug's car. My boss. Ex-boss now, I guess. The front door was unlocked. I heard voices upstairs, then laughter. Male laughter. I froze at the bottom of the stairs, knowing exactly what I'd find, but needing to see it anyway. Like picking at a scab, you know it's gonna hurt, but you can't help yourself. Our bedroom door was open. I saw them before they saw me. Jen and Doug, my wife and my boss in our bed, on the sheets my mom gave us as a wedding present. What the fuck is this? My voice didn't even sound like mine. Too calm. Too steady. Jen didn't even look shocked. She just sighed, like I was interrupting something minor. Doug scrambled for his clothes, suddenly very interested in finding his underwear. "You're home early," she said, reaching for her robe casually. Like she was commenting on the weather. "Figured you'd be drowning your sorrows somewhere." "You knew." My mind was racing to catch up. "You knew I was getting fired today." She rolled her eyes. "Of course, I knew. Doug and I have been planning this for months. You think those harassment claims wrote themselves?" Doug at least had the decency to look uncomfortable. "Jen, maybe we should what?" She laughed. "Spare his feelings? Why? He's not even a real man anymore. Just a corporate drone who gave up on his dreams." She turned to me, eyes cold. "Remember when we met? You were gonna start your own business. Be your own boss. Now look at you. Pathetic." I looked at Doug. "You helped her set me up. File fake harassment claims." He shrugged, buttoning his shirt. "Her idea, but, yeah, time for you to move on, Mike, from the company and from Jen." "About the money," I said, still trying to process everything. "Our savings, my savings now," Jen cut in. "Consider it my fee for wasting 5 years with you. Plus, I need capital for my new boutique. Doug's helping me get started, among other things." She smirked. "The house is in my name anyway. You've got until tomorrow to get your stuff. After that, I'm changing the locks." "You can't just I can and I did," she snapped. "Welcome to 2024, Mike. Women don't need to stay with underachieving men anymore. We take what we deserve." I should have raged, should have punched Doug in his smug face, should have thrown things, screamed something. Instead, I just felt hollow, like someone had scooped out my insides and left me empty. "My parents," I said, "did they invest in your store?" My sister mentioned something. Jen smiled like a predator. "All 200,000 of their retirement fund. Your dad was so eager to help his daughter-in-law achieve her dreams while his son was such a disappointment. Oh, and don't bother calling them. I already told them all about your inappropriate behavior at work, how I just couldn't stay with a man who harasses women. Your mom was crying. Your dad said he didn't raise you that way." I left without another word. What was there to say? I walked out to my truck, sat behind the wheel, and just stared at our house. 5 years of marriage, 7 years at the company, all gone in an afternoon. I spent that night in my truck in a Target parking lot, too numb to even cry. No job, no money, no house, no wife, no family who would believe me. Just me and whatever I could fit in my truck, some clothes, my laptop, a few personal items I grabbed before leaving. But somewhere around 3 a.m., something changed. The numbness hardened into something else. Something cold and focused, like ice forming over a lake. Jen took everything from me, but that meant I had nothing left to lose, and that made me dangerous. Try sleeping in your truck for a few nights. Really puts life in perspective. You learn what matters and what doesn't pretty fucking quick. Like a hot shower, matters. A lot. Your collection of vintage concert t-shirts? Not so much. By day 3, my back was killing me, and I smelled like shit. I was using the gym shower when my phone buzzed. Ryan, my buddy from college who owned a construction company, heard what happened. "That's fucked up, man. Need a place to crash?" News travels fast in a small city. Someone from work must have told someone who told someone who told Ryan. The rumor mill at its finest. Ryan didn't ask too many questions when I showed up at his door with 2 duffel bags of clothes and my laptop. He said, "Guest room's yours as long as you need. Get back on your feet at your own pace." Ryan's a good dude. Divorced himself a few years back, so he gets it. After a few hours, I told him everything. The setup, The affair with Doug, the stolen money, my parents' investment, all of it. Jesus, Mike, that's some movie-level revenge shit they pulled on you. Yeah, well, Jen always did like her drama. So, what's your plan? Ryan asked. I shrugged. Find a job. Start over. What else can I do? Ryan looked at me like I was stupid. You can fight back. That's what. The Mike I knew in college wouldn't roll over for anyone, especially not some backstabbing bitch and her boyfriend. He was right. College Mike was a fighter. When had I gotten so soft? When had I started accepting the world's shit instead of throwing it back? What would you do? I asked. Ryan took a long pull from his drink. First, I'd get my ass back in shape. You've gone soft sitting in that office chair. Second, I'd find work, cash if possible. And third, I'd start gathering intel. Knowledge is power, bro. So that's what I did. Got 2 jobs within a week. Days on Ryan's construction crew, nights bartending at this Irish pub downtown. The physical labor felt good, like waking up muscles that had been sleeping too long. 10-hour days swinging a hammer, then 7 hours slinging drinks. I dropped 15 pounds of office flab and put on muscle, sleeping like the dead in between shifts. Every time I wanted to quit, I'd hear Jen's voice in my head. He's not even a real man anymore. Fuck that noise. I was more of a man now than I'd been in years. The routine was brutal but simple. Up at 5, at the construction site by 6, work till 4, quick shower at Ryan's, then bartending from 5 till midnight. Back to Ryan's, collapse, repeat. Sundays were my only day off, and I spent those sleeping and meal prepping for the week. No time to feel sorry for myself. No time to think about Jen or Doug or my parents. Just work, eat, sleep, work. My hands got calloused. My forearms got roped with muscle. My skin darkened from working outside. 3 weeks in, I was wiping down the bar when I overheard some women talking about a new boutique opening downtown. Empowered Styles or some shit. My blood went cold when I heard the owner's name. Jennifer's so inspirational, one said. Starting her own business with just her savings. I saw her Instagram post about being a female entrepreneur in a man's world. I pulled out my phone during break and checked her profile. Sure enough, there she was standing proudly in front of an empty storefront. Dreams becoming reality. Shocker, girl boss, know your worth. The comments were full of support, including one from my own mother. So proud of you, sweetheart. You're going to do amazing things. My hands were shaking so bad I nearly dropped my phone. Not from sadness, from rage, all that hard work rebuilding myself. And here she was, living her best life with my money, my reputation in tatters, and my parents' retirement fund bankrolling her vanity project. That night, I couldn't sleep, kept seeing her smug face, hearing her voice. He's not even a real man anymore. The next morning, I cornered Ryan before heading to the site. You said knowledge is power, I said. I need to know everything about Jen's new business. Everything. Ryan nodded. Now we're talking. Let me make some calls. I called my sister Kate that night. She's the only one in my family still talking to me. Mike? Jesus, I've been worried sick about you. I'm alive, I said. Not much else good to report. Mom and Dad won't tell me what happened. Just that you and Jen split and you did something terrible at work. I laughed bitterly. Yeah, that's the official story. What they don't know is Jen and my boss set me up with fake harassment claims to get me fired, emptied our bank accounts, and convinced Mom and Dad to invest their retirement in her new store. Silence on the line. Then, fuck, Mike. Are you serious? Dead serious. How much did they give her, Kate? She hesitated. All of it, I think. Dad cashed out his $4.1K. They're living on Social Security now, talking about how they'll be part owners in a successful business soon. My stomach dropped. Jen's done this before. Her last husband before me, same deal. I found out after we got married. She claimed he was abusive, turned all their friends against him, took everything in the divorce. How do you know she's not telling the truth this time? Kate asked carefully. Because I lived it, I said. I was there, and if you ever believed I'd harass women at work, then you don't know me at all. Another pause. I believe you, Mike. I always thought something was off with her. What can I do? Just watch out for Mom and Dad, I said. Don't let them give her any more money, and maybe start documenting everything she says to them. We might need it later. I started keeping notes. Dates, times, screenshots, conversations I overheard at the bar. People talk a lot around bartenders, like we're invisible or something. Found out Doug had pulled the same stunt at his last company. Affair with a co-worker, mysterious harassment claims against her husband who also worked there. The pattern was clear. Then I heard Gen was already talking to investors about expanding to a second location, using my parents' money as proof of her successful business model. The store hadn't even opened yet. I was wiping glasses one night when a slightly drunk woman sat at the bar, ordered a vodka soda, and stared at her phone with red eyes. "You okay?" I asked, setting down her drink. She looked up, mascara smeared. "Do you know Jennifer Porter?" My heart skipped. "The one opening the boutique?" "Only by reputation." She laughed bitterly. "I'm Rachel, Doug Mitchell's wife, soon-to-be ex-wife." "Well, shit. Sometimes the universe delivers." Rachel poured her heart out over the next hour. How she'd found texts between Doug and Jen. How he'd promised to leave me months ago. How he'd helped orchestrate my firing with fake complaints. How they'd been planning this whole boutique thing together. "He always does this," she said, swirling her drink. "Trades up, leaves a trail of destruction, but he's so charming. Everyone believes his side of the story." I kept my face neutral, just nodding and listening. "Bartender 101. You're a good listener," she said finally. "Sorry to dump all this on you." "No problem," I said. "Sometimes it helps to talk to a stranger." She squinted at me. "You look familiar." "Have we met before?" "Don't think so," I said. "Just got one of those faces, I guess." As Rachel became a regular, I learned more. Doug had a pattern. This was his third affair that she knew about. "He always trades up," she said one night. "Always someone who can help his career. First, it was the VP's daughter at his old job. Then it was his boss's niece. Now it's this boutique owner who's apparently friends with the CEO's wife." I kept my face neutral. Sounds like a real stand-up guy. The worst part is he's convinced himself he's the victim somehow, like I'm holding him back from his true potential. She shook her head. "After I supported him through MBA school, working 2 jobs so he could study full-time." I nodded sympathetically. "Some people rewrite history to make themselves the hero." "Exactly." She leaned forward. "Hey. You're a good listener. Why are you bartending? You seem like you should be running the place." I shrugged. "Long story. Lost my job, starting over." "Well, their loss." She smiled. First genuine one I'd seen from her. "Doug's company is terrible anyway. Sexual harassment claims every other month, all quietly settled." My ears perked up. "Is that right?" "Oh, yeah. The legal team has a whole system. Most of the claims are probably legit, knowing the creeps who work there. But I always wondered what if some were strategic. Career advancement by character assassination." She sipped her drink. "Doug's department has an unusually high turnover rate for men in senior positions." Bingo. After Rachel left, I sent a text to my sister. "Can you find out if Jen's been meeting with any investors? Specifically, anyone connected to the CEO where I used to work?" Kate came through the next day. "She had lunch with Margaret Yellen yesterday, CEO's wife. Mom was bragging about it." The plan was taking shape in my mind. A week later, I saw my dad at the grocery store. Didn't approach him, just watched from a distance. He looked 10 years older, checking price tags on everything, putting back name brand items for generics. My dad, who worked 40 years as a master electrician, who never worried about money, now counting pennies because of Jen's sure thing. That night, I couldn't sleep. I'd been patient, gathering intel, building my case, but seeing my dad like that, it was time to move. It started with an anonymous email to Rachel. Just a few screenshots of text between Doug and Jen, discussing weekend plans while telling their spouses they were working. Nothing explicit, just suspicious enough. I knew Rachel would confront Doug. She told me herself she'd done it with his previous affairs. And sure enough, Ryan's buddy who worked with Doug said he was in a foul mood the next day, taking personal calls in the stairwell and looking stressed. Phase 1 complete. Create tension between the conspirators. Next, I had Ryan casually mention at his poker game, where several execs from my old company played, that he'd hired his buddy, Mike, who'd gotten railroaded on harassment claims. "Crazy how some women fake that shit to get ahead," he said. "Good thing the truth always comes out eventually." Word travels fast in corporate circles. The next day, Ryan texted me that 2 of the guys had asked detailed questions about my situation. Seeds of doubt planted. Phase 2 underway. Create whispers about the validity of the claims. The Irish pub became ground zero for my information campaign. Not lying, just strategic truth-telling. When customers asked what I did before bartending, I'd mention I was in project management until my wife and boss set me up with fake claims so they could be together. I didn't even have to try hard. People fill in blanks themselves, especially after a couple drinks. Soon, the whole downtown scene was buzzing with the story of poor Mike working 2 jobs after getting screwed over by his cheating wife and corrupt boss. The boutique's social media started getting comments. Subtle at first. "Does your business partner know about your previous venture failures? Interesting how some people fund businesses with other people's retirement money." Jen started deleting comments, then limited who could comment, then shut them off entirely. But the damage was spreading. I ran into Kelly from my old office at the grocery store. She'd always been friendly. "Mike, oh my God. We've all been wondering what happened to you. Those harassment claims seem so unlike you." I just shook my head sadly. Sometimes people aren't who you think they are. How's Doug doing these days? She lowered her voice. Between us? Not great. There's an internal investigation about the harassment cases in his department. Apparently, someone sent HR a statistical analysis showing that men who opposed Doug mysteriously got hit with claims within months. I tried to look surprised. You don't say. Well, karma has a way of catching up. That statistical analysis had taken me 3 nights to compile using public LinkedIn data and court records. Anonymous email accounts are wonderful things. Meanwhile, Kate reported that Jen was getting frantic. The boutique opening was behind schedule. Vendors were backing out. Doug was too busy to help. My parents were asking uncomfortable questions about where their money was going. She came over for dinner last night, Kate said. Looked like shit, dark circles under her eyes. Checking her phone every 2 minutes. Mom asked when they'd start seeing returns on their investment, and Jen practically choked on her wine. Phase 3 complete, pressure building. The grand opening of Empowered Styles Boutique was scheduled for a Saturday in May. Full-page ad in the local paper, radio spots, the works. My parents featured prominently as angel investors supporting female entrepreneurship. The morning of the opening, 3 things happened. The local business journal ran a piece on investment scams targeting retirees, featuring an anonymous case suspiciously similar to my parents' situation. Rachel filed for divorce, naming Jen as the other woman and including texts and emails as evidence. Public record immediately picked up by local gossip logs. An anonymous tip to the state licensing board questioned whether the boutique had secured proper permits, triggering a last-minute inspection. The grand opening was a disaster. Half the vendors pulled out, citing scheduling conflicts. Most attendees were there for the drama, not the merchandise. The inspector found 3 code violations requiring immediate remedy, and my parents standing awkwardly by the refreshment table looked like they'd aged a decade overnight as they overheard whispers about that poor couple who got swindled by their daughter-in-law. I watched from across the street sipping coffee, feeling nothing but cold satisfaction. For a month, I laid low, kept working my 2 jobs, kept my head down, let the dominoes fall where they may, and fall they did. The boutique struggled from day one. Bad press, permit issues, and the growing rumor mill about Jen's past all combined to keep customers away. She tried discounts, empowerment workshops, local influencer partnerships. Nothing worked. Doug got suspended pending investigation at work, then quietly resigned to pursue other opportunities. Ryan heard through his poker buddies that the company was terrified of a lawsuit. Turns out, deliberately fabricating sexual harassment claims creates serious liability issues. Who knew? Rachel took him for everything in the divorce, house, cars, even the dog. She still came to the bar occasionally, looking happier each time. I should have left years ago, she told me one night. Thanks for being there when I needed someone to talk to. As for my parents, they lost all their investment. The business loan Jen secured, using their money as collateral, fell through when the investors pulled out after the disastrous opening. The bank began foreclosure proceedings on their house of 35 years. I kept tabs on everything through Kate, who'd become my eyes and ears with the family. Mom cries all the time, she reported. Dad's talking about going back to work at 68. They're devastated. Part of me, a dark, bitter part, felt they deserved it. They'd chosen Jen over their own son, believed the worst about me without even asking for my side, let her take their life savings with barely any due diligence. But another part of me remembered being 10 years old, crying over a skinned knee, and my dad telling me, "It's not how hard you fall, son. It's how you get back up." I was back up, standing on my own 2 feet, working my ass off, saving every penny, living in Ryan's guest room. I'd rebuilt an emergency fund from nothing. Was even looking at small fixer-upper houses I might be able to afford on my own in a year or so. Meanwhile, I kept hearing stories. Jen was looking haggard. Doug wouldn't return her calls. Her shop was empty most days. She'd fired the only employee she'd managed to hire. The investors had pulled out entirely after Rachel's divorce filing mentioned securities fraud. I was restocking the bar one night when my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "I know it was you. Behind everything. You ruined me. Happy now? Jen?" I didn't respond. Another text. "They're foreclosing on your parents' house next month. Still think you won?" That one hit harder. I'd been so focused on Jen, I hadn't considered the collateral damage. My revenge had cost my parents their home, but I was prepared for this too. I'd been saving every penny from both jobs for months, living in Ryan's guest room, eating ramen, working 80-hour weeks. I'd rebuilt my emergency fund and then some. My phone rang. My dad's number. First time in 6 months. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to pick up. "Hello?" Silence. Then my dad's voice, sounding small and broken. "Mike, son, we your mother and I waited. We were wrong about everything. Jen, we lost everything, Mike. The house goes to auction next month. Your mother's a wreck. I'm too old to start over. I closed my eyes, letting the moment sink in. I know, Dad. You know? I've been watching, keeping tabs. I know what happened. We should have believed you. His voice cracked. We're your parents. We should have trusted you. I'm so sorry, son. 6 months ago, I would have given anything to hear those words. Now they just made me tired. Where are you staying after the foreclosure? I asked. Your aunt offered her guest room temporarily, but it's not a long-term solution at our age. I thought about Jen's text, about my parents' betrayal, about the satisfaction of letting them face the consequences of their choices. Then I thought about my dad checking price tags on cookies. I've been saving, I heard myself say. I can help with a security deposit on an apartment, something modest but decent, and I might have a lead on some consulting work for you if you're interested. Some of Ryan's clients need electrical expertise. Silence, then quiet, sobbing on the other end. After how we treated you, why would you help us? Because I'm not like Jen, I said simply. Or like you were to me. I'm better than that. 2 weeks later, I helped my parents move into a small 2-bedroom apartment. Not great, but clean and safe and affordable with the money I'd put down for the security deposit and first month's rent. My mom couldn't stop crying. My dad kept trying to thank me, but I shut that down. We're family, I said. That means something to me even if it didn't to you 6 months ago. Harsh, but true. They needed to hear it. Ryan came through with a consulting gig for my dad. Just part-time, checking electrical work on some of Ryan's projects, enough to supplement their social security at least. My dad looked 10 years younger the first day he put on his tool belt again. Forced retirement was killing me, he admitted. Feel like I have a purpose again. Meanwhile, the boutique finally closed its doors for good. Temporarily closed for renovations, the sign said, but everyone knew it was permanent. I drove by one night after my bar shift. All the fancy fixtures Jen had installed, the chandelier, the custom shelving, the neon signs were gone. Sold off to pay debts, I assumed. I was locking up the Irish pub when someone called my name. I turned to find Jen standing there, looking nothing like the polished, confident woman who'd mocked me in our bedroom 6 months ago. Her clothes were wrinkled, hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, eyes hollow. Mike, please, she said, voice catching. I need help. The bank took everything. I'm staying in my car. Doug won't return my calls. Your parents hate me. Sounds familiar, I said coldly. I was wrong. Okay? Is that what you want to hear? Tears streaked her makeup. I messed up. I got greedy. I thought Doug and I had something real, but he was just using me. Like you used me? And my parents? She flinched. I'll do anything, please. I just need a little money to get back on my feet, alone. I'll pay you back, I swear. I looked at her, really looked at her. The woman I'd once loved, the woman who destroyed my life without remorse, now standing before me, begging for the same mercy she'd never shown me. You know what's funny, Jen? 6 months ago, you told me I wasn't a real man anymore. But here's the thing about men. Real men. They build things. They protect people. They don't tear down and destroy for their own gain. I reached into my wallet and pulled out a 20. This will get you a hot meal and a cup of coffee. There's a women's shelter on 9th Street that takes walk-ins until 10 p.m. I checked my watch. You've got about 45 minutes. She stared at the bill then back at me. That's it? After everything we were to each other. We were never anything real, I said. You made sure of that. As I walked away, she called after me, voice rising in desperation. You can't just leave me like this. I have nowhere to go. I'm sleeping in my fucking car. I turned back one last time. Guess you've got nothing left to lose. I hear that's a powerful place to start over. It worked for me. The next day, I put in my notice at the Irish pub. Ryan's construction business was taking off, and he needed a project manager with experience. Someone who could help him expand, maybe even franchise eventually. You've busted your ass these past 6 months, he said. Time to put that brain back to work. Plus, I'm sick of seeing your ugly mug in my guest room. I signed a lease on a small house near my parents' new apartment. Nothing fancy, but it had potential. Good bones, as they say in construction. Needs work. But what doesn't? Sometimes my regulars from the bar ask whatever happened to that woman whose boutique failed so spectacularly. I just shrug and say, I heard she left town. The truth is, I don't know and don't care. She's not part of my story anymore. 3 months into my new job with Ryan, we landed a contract to renovate an old warehouse into office space. Biggest project yet. I was on site checking the electrical plan with my dad when Ryan pulled me aside. Got an interesting call today, he said. That business journal that did the piece on investment scams, they want to interview me about the construction industry, specifically about contractor scams targeting small business owners. I raised an eyebrow. And why would they call you about that? Because apparently someone told them I had a unique perspective. He grinned. Someone with first-hand experience on both sides of a scam. They're particularly interested in talking to someone who rebuilt after losing everything. I don't know, man, I hedged. Putting my story out there would help a lot of people, Ryan finished. Plus, it's the final nail in Jen and Doug's coffins. Their names would be mud forever in this town. I thought about it, about the past year of my life, about losing everything and building it back, about my parents now working alongside me on this project, about the strength I'd found in myself that I never knew existed. Let me think about it, I told Ryan. That night, I sat on my back deck looking at the stars. Funny how you appreciate simple things after nearly losing everything. I thought about doing the interview, about putting Jen and Doug on blast publicly. The final revenge served ice cold. Part of me, a big part, wanted to do it. Make them suffer just a little more. Make sure everyone knew exactly what kind of people they were. But another part of me wondered if I really needed it. If I was still that angry, broken guy sleeping in his truck in a Target parking lot. My phone buzzed. Text from my dad. Thanks for dinner tonight, son. Your mother says the lasagna was the best she's ever had. We're proud of you. 6 words I hadn't heard in years. We're proud of you. I made my decision. The next morning, I called Ryan. About that interview, tell them no thanks. Seriously, this could bury those assholes for good? They're already buried, I said. Doug's lost his job, his wife, his reputation. Jen's boutique failed. She lost everything. She's literally homeless. What more do I need? Ryan was quiet for a moment. This isn't like you, man. The Mike I know would want to finish the job. The Mike you knew was all about revenge, I said. The Mike I am now is about rebuilding. Besides, I've got better things to focus on. Like the warehouse conversion project, which was going great, like my parents, who were slowly healing from their financial disaster, like the small house I was fixing up room by room, like the business plan I was drafting at night, my own construction company specializing in green renovations. Ryan was even talking about making me a partner if things kept going well. I'd lost everything, but in losing it all, I'd found myself again. The guy who had dreams. The guy who wasn't afraid to work his ass off to make them happen. The guy who didn't need to destroy others to feel whole. 2 months later, I was grabbing coffee before heading to the site when I saw Doug. He was coming out of the unemployment office looking like shit. Unshaven, shoulders slumped, cheap suit that didn't fit right. Our eyes met for a second before he quickly looked away, hurrying to his car. Not the Audi anymore, just a beat-up Honda. I could have said something. Could have rubbed it in. Instead, I just sipped my coffee and kept walking. He wasn't worth the breath it would take.